hi, Nicole. I know you are one of our industry mentors, but this is going to be viewed by all of our students in learning community. So I was wondering if you could tell us who you are and a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into some, or maybe go into why you're, well, you could tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into more questions.
Sounds good. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Schmidt. I am a 2009 Connie alumni from Iowa State with my bachelor's degree. And while I was finishing my bachelor's, I decided to enroll concurrently and get my master's in civil with an emphasis in construction engineering and management. So I graduated with my bachelor's, started work full-time with Turner, and finished my master's online with a couple trips to campus for presentation and classes. With that, I've been with Turner for the last 11 years, building my career here, and I've currently been living in Iowa for the last 5.5 years. I spent 6 years in Kansas City before then, with a year stint in Denver for us, and I've had a wide variety of projects that I've been working on, from $500,000 hospital tenant improvements, redoing of a room, to new build, new construction, education facilities for school districts, to commercial interior remodels, data center work here in Iowa. And currently I'm the project manager on Des Moines University's new West Des Moines campus that we've began construction on within the last few months and officially broke ground last September 10th. So I met my husband at Iowa State as well. He is a 2008 Connie, and he works for us as our head superintendent over at Facebook.
Thanks, Nicole. So why did you choose Connie, and then why did you choose the building emphasis?
So Connie came about to me when I came to Iowa State. Originally, junior year in high school, I was thinking architecture. I wanted to design my own house and building and future office spaces, and was drawing in high school all of that. And I stumbled upon an advisor that I ended up having, Rhonda Wiley Jones, and she, during my orientation college visit tour, and she introduced the construction engineering to me, and it honestly combined my love for math, my interest in wanting to be outside and inside, having a different day every day. The fact that I didn't want to draw on paper. I knew things were moving to technology and computer-based, and encouraged more of my communication and management skills. So when hearing about the degree and the program, I was like, oh, why am I not doing construction engineering? And why would I do architecture? Granted, I love the architects, don't get me wrong. They are very design-oriented and have a lot of great ideas, and they're good to work with. For building emphasis, it's just that passion of building that I had for buildings. No offense to any civils or heavy highway emphases, but that was just not my cup of tea. I dabbled in mechanical, but did not do the full mechanical emphasis. So what I did do was engage with MCA and AGC, as well as NAHB a little bit, because I knew, coming from no construction background in any of my family, I was the first one to pursue anything in construction, that I probably really needed to learn how to hammer a nail and put up some framing and do some earthwork or digging into the ground to put in some utilities or connecting water lines for an owner. And so that engagement with the organizations really helped me get that background without having to, spend years of doing it in the field. So building fell into my lap because of my passion for building, but I wanted to make sure that I was still fully engaged in some of the particulars of civil and heavy design, mechanical and electrical, because that is such a demand right now in our industry. And if you all aren't aware, mechanical, electrical emphasis are high demand, as well as civil. There are so many civil heavy highway projects going on, not only in Iowa, but nationwide, that you'll get snatched up right away. So follow your passions, because that's where you're going to enjoy what you do day in and day out. And I hope you enjoy the Connie program thus far, a few weeks into it.
So Nicole, when you were in school, did you have any co-ops, and what were some job responsibilities you had as a co-op or intern?
Sure. I actually had both. I had several internships and a co-op. And the approach I took, because I just was so unfamiliar with what you could do in each role, was I dabbled a little bit in each. So I had a internship with a mechanical trade partner where I was on site learning about condensation pipelines, drawing how to design the systems with the project manager, doing requests for information and submittals, and helping coordinate some things in the field with training and support. Don't get me wrong, they knew I was not equipped to just start running a project by myself. Then I spent some time with a general contractor, and that internship was a lot of bidding and estimating. So they had a client where they were going to build a dozen banks all at the same time, and banks were in closeout stage, some were in new construction, some were in bidding stages to get the trade partners on board, and some were in the estimate early stages. And so that was fun to see that side. And then I signed on with a design build company and got to experience how design build differs from general contracting, and that avenue, and how you are more integrated before pen is even to paper, and providing input on the construction process to the design team right away, as well as the ownership group. And from that, I would also mention that I dabbled in different states too. I wasn't sure where I wanted to end up, so I kind of tried different areas to make sure I was fully engaged and knew all my options when I was going to accept a full-time position. Then what I will say with all the internships and co-ops, as well as what you would see from Turner on one, is there are people there to teach you and to support you and show you the way. I never felt like I was stranded on an island. I was given opportunities to take on sole ownership of, say, a bid package of drywall or concrete, and really have all the discussions between trade partners, design teams, owners, internal, etc. Because in the end, I think everybody that you'll hear today, our goal is for you all to see what the real world's going to be like. Make sure you are excited about what you are going to do when you graduate the program. And then also just make sure you want to come to work every day, for whether it's Turner or somebody else. Because if you're not happy, you're not going to be happy at work, and it's going to reflect in your product quality.
So you went to work with Turner right out of school. What did your job look like at that point?
When I started with Turner, I was put as part of the estimating team, which doesn't always happen right away to a new hire, but we had a large project. Sporting Kansas City, the MLS team, was building their new MLS stadium, and we were in pre-construction with putting together our final estimates and bidding out the trade partners so we could start construction. So that's what I did for my first 6 months. And then from there, I rolled into our special projects division, where I worked on several small projects with another superintendent and a senior project manager over me. And that's where I really got to see projects from start to finish. So I was engaged in bidding that work from drawings. I was learning how to get a permit from a city. I had never done that before. How to get a check cut so I could pick up a permit. What all needed to be done with coordination ahead of time, looking at lead times to get materials on site, visiting our job site to talk with the superintendent and make sure I understood what was a priority to him, as well as make sure I'm maintaining the budget and cost control. And the senior PM coached me and trained me along the way, but it was really the opportunity to, over the first year, really get to know the business, see a full project from start to finish, integrate in part of the team, and understand what we do as a company, as well as integrate with the programs. So every general contractor may use some slightly different program to do budget control or document control, and we want to get everybody up to speed with that process too.
Okay. So how did you get from there to where you are today?
I have a zigzag path. Because one thing is it's fun. It's my husband works for the same company. Like I said, he's been here 6 months longer than me because he graduated 6 months before me. His path is way different than mine. So I continue to ask for more responsibility and be coached on training to get on larger projects. But I went from our special projects division to procurement, where I was involved with large-scale projects, bidding and awarding large project contracts, working with the operations and field team to get everything out the door, to then back to our special projects group to build a couple $10 to $20 million projects. Then I went to our cost department, which is a third-party auditor, to really understand the nitty-gritty details of how do we make earnings as a company? How do we pay our people? How do we make sure this company will survive the next 5, 10 years, 100 years? You know, you can't do work for free. You have to sustain a business.
Right.
To then back to the bigger project side, moved into the role as head engineer on a $500 million data center here in Iowa, where basically I managed a team of 8 engineers. To off of that into pre-construction, where I've worked with opening our official Iowa office and trying to be a part of our business development sales team, talking with owners, clients, showing them what we can do as an organization, what we bring to the table for projects, to actually being an active role in the pursuit for Des Moines University. And now I'm here as the pre-con lead and the PM for the project. So I would say the best thing that got me to my spot, and this is a long answer, sorry for that, Dr. Shane, but it's variety. To me, it was what could I do to make myself the best well-rounded person that understands the business, understands all aspects of construction, and understands how I can be a better person and manager too as I grow and develop those things. One other thing I should note, I did spend some time in the field as a superintendent. So don't get me wrong, I have had my boots on in the field and coordinated all the work for projects, as well as just having that reaching out, getting involved and engaged in the community, because part of growing in your skills and growing in your pathway is taking on more of that responsibility of how do we win the next job? How do we get that next client? How do we show and deliver operational excellence?
So what is your typical day like? And I know there's no typical, but
every day is different. Yeah, every day is so different. And honestly, that's one of the things I love about construction. I will have a to-do list and it may not get all done that day. Right now, because of the pandemic, I have a lot of virtual meetings. And And usually I'll kick off the day talking to our field staff about what's going on in the field, on site, some needs. Do they need anything? I'll talk to the design teams about where we're at with deliverables, drawings, following up on schedule items. And then I'll sit in on some design team calls and provide feedback as to what we're going to do in 9 months and make sure that we're thinking about everything ahead of time. And at the end of the day, I like to have some fun too. So maybe it's engaging in a virtual happy hour, potentially giving attaboys or attagirls to those workers that are out in the field. Occasionally I'll show up with donuts or coffee for people or meetings. But to be honest, right now, 80% of my time is in a meeting. And I'm working on emails in between or deliverables we owe to the clients. And it varies every single day. The one thing I've learned is Sunday night, I always look ahead to what my week looks like for meetings, if I need to change around anything. And every day at the end of the day, I'm looking up to the next day and am I fully prepared for those meetings that are going to occur.
Okay. And you mentioned Brian is a superintendent. I should have asked him on this meeting as well, because he was a building emphasis, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
So what could you briefly give us his kind of path or how you two ended up at such different places in the company?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. It's funny because we have very different strengths and weaknesses. So it's nice. We balance each other out. And people always ask, like, how do you work with your husband? And we worked on the same job site for 5 years. And we worked on one job site together right next to each other in the same department. So it's because of that, we are still married today. 9 years last week, actually.
Congratulations.
But thanks. He's had more of a field emphasis. He really likes the field. While he loves cost and paperwork, it's not his cup of tea. And he will rightfully tell everybody. So he has a way to get the trades, earn the respect of the trades, really understand where they're coming from, understand the ownership's wants, desires, and bring them to reality. He has a really good gift of foresight and looking ahead, 3-6 weeks down the road plus 9 months down the road, and understanding how a building goes together. And so with that, he has spent a lot of time in our special projects group at the beginning of his career, where he did get office, bidding time, contract time, RFIs, submittals. He did do some field side too. He headed up our self-perform group too, so we have carpenters and laborers on staff. For that sporting Kansas City stadium I talked about, he was in charge of all of our self-perform crew for that. And so talk about a dream job. He played soccer in high school. His dream job would be to build an MLS stadium. And I kid you not, 3 years after graduation, he was building an MLS stadium.
That's cool.
No, don't you all get your hopes up that that's going to happen. I think I'm just now building my dream job 11 years into it. But that it's kind of cool, the opportunities, different companies. And your dream job could be building a new target, and that's great. Everybody has different dream jobs. But he has dabbled in our self-perform. He's done purchasing. And then from there, he's really just stuck with superintendent or field. He's done quality. On some jobs, we have a full quality person where he's getting into all the details, making sure the field's doing everything built correct 100%. He's done MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing superintendent, where he knows the ins and outs of the data centers. And now he's our head superintendent on $500 million builds. So he's in charge of all the field. So he's doing well. He loves the field. It's his place, definitely. He eventually wants to become, project executive and roll into other things too. But he he will miss the field the day he gets out of the field. Because one thing he would tell you, 80% of the time he's spent in meetings too and not in the field. He would love to be in the field more. So unless he's driving around the site first thing at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, he's usually not on the field job site right now. So that is one thing. As you go higher in the field level, depending on the project size and such, sometimes your role as a superintendent is more coordination and foresight ahead of time instead of being the boots on the ground in the field with the trades directing the work.
I think you guys offer a nice balance of, you talked about how you guys balance each other out of, where you spend your time and how you spend your time or where your strengths are. And I think that's a good highlight of, and one of the great things about Connie is you can end up in so many different places. It's not like you're just going to end up behind a desk or, doing computer programming or whatever it might be. So,
exactly.
So that's exciting. I know you used to be a peer mentor for a learning community. Mm-hmm. Did you have any advice you used to always give the students? Do you remember?
I probably remember a few because I still give it to students I talk to today. It's get involved to whatever your passion is. That's one thing that I took away. I did the Connie organizations, but I also got involved in things that weren't Connie related. Because in order to broaden your horizons, become that more well-rounded person, you have to engage with people that aren't like you. Connie's, a lot of us are very similar or have similar traits, personality things. And when you engage in those that are more of an artsy background or are in sports that you want to do, I did crew rowing at Iowa State. Never done it before, tried it. I did hockey cheerleading. I did Student Alumni Leadership Council. That's going to produce lifelong friendships too that you're going to run into, and they could be your next owner. They could be your next design team member because everybody's paths change after college. And I just highly encourage that do your passion, make sure you're doing what's passion, but also get involved outside of the construction passion too. And then just communication. I can't stress it enough. What you start today in your teams, and how you communicate and how you make commitments to people about meeting a deadline, that is going to shape you for the rest of your life. And so don't be afraid if you miss something or you can't make it to something because a life event happened. Just let that person know, or whoever you're going to engage with or meet up with, say, hey, something came up. I can't make this meeting today. Let's reschedule for this. Because in the end, your impression you left on that person, it will be hard to change after that impression if it's not clearly communicated.
It's a good piece of advice. All of it is. So, but yeah, definitely communication. I tell students a lot, if you communicate earlier, it's easier to, deal with. If you know ahead of time and what's going on, then it's easier. And we know last minute things come up, but just communicate. So, we've had a wide ranging discussion. Is there anything that you would like to share or that I missed?
Another tidbit. So physics, chemistry, not my strong suit. Calculus, it's all a part of the program. It's there for a reason. You may not like some of the early classes you're doing, but I promise you, engage, get through them, pass them. It's okay to retake occasionally. I did have to retake a class. I, own up to that. But you're going to get in your second, third, fourth years into the construction things. So a lot of times this first year, depending on where you are in the program, is a hard year and you're like, I'm not even in anything construction. And that's why it's so great to have this learning community, because at least you're dabbling in it a little bit. But just remember the end goal, right? get into those construction classes. And that's just one thing I want to make sure everybody's encouraged by, that everyone's struggling. You all are in unprecedented times right now. Lean on each other, lean on friends, lean on past students, engage with those students that are older and levels, or your peer mentors, your industry mentors. We're here for you. We're here to support you. Honestly, every alumni out of this program always comes back to, we want to make sure the best and brightest are coming out of Iowa State's program, because you all are the future of our companies. You all are the next general managers. You all are the next ones opening your own business and developing a construction company or an innovation company, whatever it may be. And so just remember, you have a huge support system surrounding you that's here to help you out.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's very true. Very true. Everyone feels like family when they're leaving Connie. So that's, and I think it goes earlier and later also as alumni. So awesome.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for your time today. And I know we have some students coming out to visit you in a few weeks, and I'm sure they're looking forward to it, and we'll look forward to hearing more from you at some other point too.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Shane. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Nicole.